now or forever hold your peace. All right. Tammy Boots.
Did you say speak now or forever hold?
No.
Did you? Was that just a?
That's just a comment.
Okay.
Tammy will be right back.
Tammy Woolman's here.
She's here. She'll be right back.
All right, we'll put her at the bottom of the stack. We already heard from Gordon.
Oh wait. Gordon, did you?
Oh, his was on the first item.
Oh, okay.
Is Gordon here?
Yes, Gordon. We're going to limit the speaking to 2 minutes. Otherwise, we're going to be here till tomorrow morning. Well, there's a whole stack of you.
I'll give my time to Gordon, so you can add 2 more minutes.
Okay, so just so you know,
Okay.
excuse me, just so you know, that is very normal, and if you went to your county board of supervisors, they give you 2 or 3 minutes, so that is very standard.
How many minutes are they? 2 minutes?
They're the proponents.
They can have all the time they need to state their position. And as she said, the county's board of supervisors, you get 2 minutes.
Proponents are not given unlimited time at the Board of Supervisors.
Well, all right, but let's get this over with.
Well, wait a minute. Let's follow the rules. Let's follow the rules.
Mr. Chairman, there's been a variety of technical points raised. I believe I can help this hearing considerably by responding to them. And there's so many of them that it is not a 2-minute thing.
I'll give you 3 minutes.
We'll see. One of the things to understand is there is a discussion here that they had agreement with the county in terms of various things on zoning. Understand, the only agreement with the county is action by the county board of supervisors. Anything that somebody thinks is an agreement with the county at the staff level is only a staff level discussion. That's the first one. The other point is that property owners indeed can ask for anything they want, but that's not how a general plan is necessarily built. Those are requests that need to be evaluated in the overall. The notion of the horse ranch is sort of a curious one. They're arguing that there'll be changes in the zoning structure within the plan designation. There'll probably be some. And the idea that somehow the horse ranch would be safer under an I2 industrial category from a zoning cleanup than an SR4, which includes, in fact, throughout the county, the ag zones, is probably not a very likely scenario. It could happen, but not likely. As far as the arguments of compatibility, if I can point out to the map up here, these are the properties of interest. Indeed, over here is the I2, here's the I2. This over here is SR2. This is residential SR2. That also is SR4 over there. So the notion that somehow it is surrounded, it is not. The idea that there will not end up with a boundary between residential and commercial is not, industrial is not true. It shall exist. And in fact, will actually be somewhat less intense. Further, on the impact from the I2 over there, the current plans that are in the works for changing the way the drainage is going to go in, both on Ennis property and on Mr. Turner's property, puts the channel right along this side, so in actual fact the buffer becomes rather bigger. So if you really want to talk about dimensions of a buffer against a residential, here you've got none. Over here you've got that 95 feet plus the channelization. So I think looking at that, the particular case in terms of compatibility is not as strong as you might think. As for the planning group position in 2005, I was trying to remember if I was on the board at that time.
Janice was.
Janice was. Okay, then I know it wasn't unanimous. There were earlier ones where I had disagreed on that, so I think it's not quite unanimous at that point. And I think that gets to my major points, that it is not surrounded. The compatibility issue is in fact made worse by this if you look at this map. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to need a dissenting opinion here. I am one of the landowners involved. I'm right smack in the middle. There's actually 6 properties involved. We've got control of 2 of them. So we're 1/3 of the properties that are affected here. And we have been agricultural forever. A70 is fine. A72 is fine. What we really don't want to see is vigilante creep down the north end of Moreno Avenue. North end of Moreno Avenue would look just like vigilante with brown fences on both sides of the road.
It already does.
If it is agriculture, you're welcome to come out and take a look and see that stuff is actually growing. We have horses next door, that's no problem. The horses at the south, that's fine. Everybody seems to be in compliance. I don't think we need to be industrial. I think the agriculture that has been there all along, we've all done what we wanted agriculturally, and it has worked. Originally when we bought it, we have been there since 1963. January, this coming January, we will have been there 50 years. When we first moved there, across the street, just a hayfield, clear to 67, clear to Slaughterhouse Canyon. It has crept up and up Vigilante, now it's at the north end of Moreno. At some point in time, we've got to have, you talk about a buffer zone, we should probably be the buffer zone. And as far as compatibility, if you look at the other side of 67, we've got residential right next to M54. It's got to be compatible. It's already there. We are not an island. We are more of a peninsula. I don't know who asked.
Could you guys hold the plasma so we can
Do you have
keep
a map
moving
right
forward, please? Thank you.
That one? And that one.
Julie, can you hold that up so I can see?
So as far as being an island, we're not an island. We're a peninsula sticking out here. Originally it was A8, I believe, and over the years, I think everybody has complied with the agricultural zone that's been there. And I just don't want to see Moreno end up another vigilante.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weatherson.
Thank you.
I don't want Moreno to become another vigilante, and all we got now is just more and more bottom dumps and all kind of trucks coming north off of Willow. They're supposed to be going up to Vigilante, but they're all coming up Moreno. We're sick and tired of it.
Yes. That's a lot of that construction work is from the dam raise, but there's also a lot of people that own trucks and tractors that live on Moreno that don't have M54 zoning, and there's lots of them. But Mr. Myers, where do you live exactly, just as ranch owner?
I live 6661 Elder Street in San Diego. I never knew about this G20, and nobody ever notified
So
me.
you don't live in Lakeside?
I do not.
Okay, sir.
We own property, yes. For 50 years.
What's your property on Moreno?
Does it make a difference?
You have a property on Moreno, sir?
Just like to know.
Mid-range, what it says.
Mid-ranch, oh, that's what,
Thank you.
okay. Sharon, no, that was him.
And Kevin's younger brother, and yeah, like you said, you've been there 50 years, and it's fine the way it is. And the noise of Vigilante and lights at night become really irritating. And I would like that to remain up the valley and not creep any further down, toward where we are.
Mid-Branch Lane. I believe one of this man here mentioned that the reason he moved out there was to do what he wanted to do in his valley. Well, I moved to that valley for the same reason. Agricultural, it was a horse community, it is still a horse community. I still want to have that possible for me to live there. I want to be able to enjoy what I moved there for, which is to have a wonderful community, be able to ride our horses down the street, not worry about the traffic. That I've got some photos here showing what Vigilante looks like. It is not compatible with horses, children riding bikes. I want to still have that neighborhood.
Your property, you're approximately, what's the distance from your property to the Ennis or the radio towers?
I'm halfway down Moreno.
Halfway down, half a mile?
It's about half a mile, yeah.
Half a mile, okay.
It's about a mile.
A mile, it's a mile.
Well, it's about 3/4 of a mile to Vigilante from Mid-Ranch.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Dwyer?
Yes. I too burned out in '03.
But I stayed in the neighborhood, and I still live there, and that's my neighborhood where I grew up. And I too remember being able to ride on Vigilante and play and ride in those riverbeds. But that has changed, and I don't want more industrial coming down Moreno where my child rides and does things in her neighborhood. So I want to keep it this. You can't promise me that once it goes in 54, that you or whoever you sell it to will keep it the same. It could turn into where there isn't a 20-foot setback with landscaping and just fences with the netting. Thank you.
How do you pronounce your name?
Frizzell.
Frizzell.
Own property 11814 Moreno, right across from the radio tower. Vigilante has a street light on every corner.
Hold the microphone up.
It is lit up like daylight. The middle of the night, it is lit up like daylight, and when times were good, there were companies that were working there well into the night that we could hear. I don't know if they were crushing rock, I don't know what they were doing, but there was loud noise when times are good. Moreno has 0 street lights. It is dark, you can see the stars, and you can hear the owls and the coyotes. I would like to keep it that way, and it will not stay that way if industrialization comes down Moreno and across the street from Ennis and the other properties. It's going to be riparian, it's going to be a natural channel eventually when the sand's taken out, so that too will go back to nature.
Nicholson. Linda.
My address is 11315 Rocky Lane, and although I'm not a direct neighbor of yours, what I'm concerned about is the real estate values. This is why we bought this house. We all bought in Moreno Valley because we loved it there, and this was our last stop. And I think, as you can hear from most of the people here, I'm a newcomer, and I bought in 2004. My heart goes out to Heartland Ranch. If you'll take a look at these pictures that are across the street from him, that is a sin, an absolute sin. It looks like a DMZ war zone. Those pictures will be passed around the audience again. You see the barbed wire at the top and everything? Not nice. Not nice. You have to really feel sorry for these people. But as we come into the Moreno Valley, that's our entryway there. So that's what people judge as we come in. They think, okay, this is what the neighborhood's about. There's some horses here, there's agriculture here, and that's why we all bought there. But on the other hand, if it's turned even more industrial, it's going to ruin our real estate values. We've taken enough hits over there. You can't let this slide down further. This is Lakeside, and that's why we bought here. We love it here, and we want to make sure it stays that way. Thank you.
All right, Karen.
I'm Karen Ensall. I live 11624 Moreno Avenue, about 5 houses down from where this rezoning, the proposed rezoning. A lot of what I was going to say has already been said. I would just like to say, Mr. Ennis, you haven't even lived there and have no house on that property since '03, so I don't know why you're complaining.
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
And Heartland Ranch bought knowing what was across the street from them, because they haven't been there that long. We bought knowing that your zoning was way down there and it wouldn't affect us. And I don't think we would have bought if we would have known that it was coming down our way. So we wanted to say the way it is, so our horses can ride down that road to the proposed staging area right at the base of San Vicente Dam.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I have just a couple of comments. I'm relatively new here. I, for one, want to speak on behalf of regulations. The reason we have zoning at all is because property owners felt so long in this country that they could do whatever they dang well pleased with their land, regardless of the interests of their neighbors, or their county, or their city, or what have you. So, I want to do what I want to do on my property too, and I'm sympathetic to that. I don't like to be told what to do or what not to do. But the fact is, we live in a society, a civil society, where there are limits to what we can do and can't do. And for me, to hear just the possibility of more industry coming into that valley being basically not set into cement, but set onto paper, really upsets me because it's losing something essential. It's like seeing the power towers at the foot of El Capitan. You know, there's something wrong about it, entirely apart from my interest as a landowner and what have you. So, I cannot support the idea of rezoning these properties, even though they may have been left out wrongly, even though bureaucracy can really suck at times, and I know that because I work for one. I really don't want to see any changes that would allow more industry there in the future.
All right, thank you. Larry?
I can give my time to Gordon, please.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you. I just wanted to make one point. You've been talking about the distances, and you realize you've had testimony from property owners for 2 of the parcels involved where their distance is 0. You've had testimony from the Weathersons, 2 of the parcels in this group who are opposed, and what's their distance to it? 0, because they're right in the middle of it. The other thing I think that should be said is that the part of the problem with if you look at the fences with the Constantine wire and you look at that cloth and stuff, is unfortunately the quality of the outdoor industrial in this area has been poor. And we have a design review program that should be getting it done, but honestly really is made up largely of people that don't really quite want to do that. So if you look up on Vigilante, you'll see 2 that are really good. You'll see Clark Steel, you'll see Area West. That's what it should have been. Unfortunately, it's not, and I know this can irritate Robin.
Watch
Sorry.
yourself. Watch yourself. Your wife is on that board with me.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Watch yourself.
Well, she's the outvoted one.
Yeah.
Let's face it. But the point being, I think we can say as a clear point of speaking, not to pick on the design review, but if you look at it, 2 of those up there are really good, and the rest of it is really poor. And if we really had this cooperation with the design review, we'd have a higher quality thing. So much of the complaints that the area should be industrial because it's not very good is really we haven't had the cooperation to make it what it should be, and that's unfortunate.
All right. Such. Gordon, I know you don't own any equipment, and you haven't been vandalized, but Bob Turner, who's not here tonight, he's on the board, his cranes were theft impacted by thieves that stole every piece of electrical wire they could get. They got probably $40 worth of wire and did $20,000 worth of damage. And you have to be able to keep some of those undesirables out. And that's what that is. And it's unfortunate.
If I may real quick, the proposal was to have that kind of fence not on the outside, but in 20 feet and have some landscaping on the outside. That's what Janice was trying to get at on that.
Gordon, use the mic.
All right.
Use the mic.
Thank you. Okay, Pam. Pammy Boots.
Also, I want to clarify something.
Okay.
I think a lot of the people, excuse me, I think a lot of you people in Marina don't understand that the dam is the one bringing all the trucks down that road on that end. They actually have a permit to bring the trucks. Yes, they do. We've been to the meetings. They do. And anybody that comes to Ennis from that end gets kicked out of Ennis. They will not allow anybody to come to their dump or their sand pit that comes from that way. So the trucks, you guys might have a misunderstanding. Those are all going to the dam, and if they go to Ennis, they get kicked out. I just want to clarify that for you guys that live on Marina.
Nope.
Okay, we're back up to the board here. Yes.
Question for Wade. What was your original zoning? What was your original zoning when you purchased your property?
A70 and A72.
Okay.
That's what I would have told you, but that's wrong. A70 and A72 turns out was the land designation, but I always thought it was, and that's the whole thing that brought this up. It was actually rural uses 18, but I had never heard of that. But now they have 2 different things. They call SR4 is the zoning, and A70 and A72 is the land use. But that will be probably cleaned up or phased out in the next couple of years.
Wait, just for clarification, and your A70, A72 is the zoning,
No.
Yeah, and then the land use reg is like an 18. It's, I think you're saying it flip-flop, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But those
Okay.
two things have always existed, those two different pieces.
Okay.
But I actually didn't know for probably 10 years that those two things existed. Because those one part doesn't hardly ever come into play for some odd reason. Just so you know. So you follow what I'm saying? So your A70, A72, or whatever you have, is the actual zoning, and the land, the use reg, I think, 18 or 20 or 21 or whatever it is that, just so that you know that. But it's pretty irrelevant to the conversation, but.
So the designated actually specifies what you can do with the land, as far as animals or tracking?
In the matrix. And so whatever your zoning is in your zoning box, and then you go to a matrix and it tells you if you can, what kind of animals, et cetera, so.
Okay,
Wait, I got a question on the sparklets and the radio tower. You mentioned that this whole plot, that some of the property owners were left out. Is the new 2020 plan, is that going to be industrial, light industrial, or what is that zone?
Well, the new 2020 plan has already happened. The new 2020 plan has already happened. Originally, the whole, one of the ones before all the white here was A70 and A72. And if you look at the difference of the map here, they made all the other side of the street across from us M54. Before we were all A70 and 72, now we should all be M54. We should still be the same. To respond to what Gordon said earlier about the buffer zone, that residential land behind us is actually the SDG&E Sunrise Power Link easement, and it should be there for 50 or 100 years. They zoned it 2 or 4 acres just because they knew it would never be built. It's the SDG&E easement, and the slopes on it are so steep nothing could have ever been built anywhere. And that's why that's a good buffer for the end. It's a natural constraint. We've got the reservoir above us, SDG&E Power Link behind us, the radio station and sparklets that don't plan to do anything for, this is a 20-year plan. That's another thing I want to tell you. This is a 20-year zoning plan, and then it will change again. And the sand mining plan that Bob's putting through is more than a 20-year plan too. Did that answer the question?
I just want to make the comment that about a week and a half ago, I was wondering about all of this, so I called one of the planners that's working on the general plan amendment, and he told me that they don't know how this got deleted, but they have no problem whatsoever at the county at making this industrial zoning instead of leaving it residential.
but they don't live here.
Well,
Hold it down.
I'm just saying that they try to do what they think is best.
From a land use perspective.
From a land use perspective, thank you, Robin.
Yeah.
And that they don't see any problems at all with industrial. And I realize they don't live here, but I just want to make the comment too, and I've told a lot of people, I used to ride a horse in Balboa Park. I mean, you know, we don't do that anymore either, do we? Things change. Sorry.
Tom? They don't have.
Do you currently, presently know what the zoning for the radio towers at Sparkless is now? Is that A70R, SR4?
Yes.
All right, folks. Weathersons, even if this is rechanged and we do approve this, if we do, that's it, you can go ahead and continue doing your agricultural thing. And your brother, I went to school with him. I recognize him. He probably doesn't recognize me. I put on a few pounds. He still looks in great shape. This information and whatnot does not change the location of where this property is in conformance with, in conjunction with the heavy industrial M58. And I was surprised that they did not request M58, just like their next door neighbors. At our other meeting, 2 meetings ago, Janice wanted to request I-1 or I-2, and we said, well, M54 is what they're requesting, and she said, not M58, we said M54, and she agreed, that's Gordon's wife. And I promised you a copy of that tape, Gordon, and I have the original.
I don't know what she agreed with.
Yeah, she agreed with the M54.
I don't think so.
No, I have it on, I have it recorded.
Well, let's listen to it then.
Okay, so,
that was preferable to
Mark?
Quiet, let's
Okay.
see the proof.
The, in fact, do I have a motion from the board?
And so can I clarify? So, he's looking for a motion, and if there is no motion made, our old motion will stand. But just so that you know that, for folks that
Your old
maybe.
motion or your old vote?
Our old vote, I'm sorry. So, in case someone's timid, because of the crowd, if they want to make a motion to have a different position.
The crowd's in favor of a motion.
I come from a family of 8 children. And if any of you have been in a family of 8 children, and mom brings out a pie for dessert, who's going to get the biggest piece of pie? And the way that was handled was, is you give the knife to one person and everybody else gets to get their piece of pie first. So you know it's going to be pretty evenly cut, okay? Our hands are kind of tied, okay? And a lot of you don't understand that, okay? The General Plan 2020 was changed to the General Plan Update because it took us 14 years to get to a point where they realized they weren't going to get it done in 2. So the next time they have a General Plan Update, if they say it's going to be General Plan 2040, it'll probably end up to be another General Plan Update. The traffic on the road, we vehemently opposed the dam race trucks coming down that road because the road wasn't built for it. We also let them know that we represent the people that live there and we can't let those trucks come down that road. Now, if they're violating that, that's a different issue. That's not something we did. Gordon made the comment that on some design review board decisions that Janet was the only person on the board who didn't make it unanimous. Well, be aware, none of the votes have to be unanimous. It's the majority. Okay, we live in a community where we are sharing it together. We understand that you bought something. You expect to have that. They just rezoned everything. They downsized and upgraded the whole county. People who have 120 acres can now build one house and can't split the land. So you think you've got a problem? I mean, there are people with 640 acres that can now only build one house and can't split the land. You know, so you have to look at a fence that somebody put some cloth over so you don't get to see what's behind it. I mean, granted, they don't, it's not something pretty to drive by. I understand that. And that they don't have a nice block wall with flowers and plants and ivy. I understand that, okay, that's something you have to put up with. I go back to places where I grew up, and the places I grew up aren't even there anymore. So we're not here to fight you. Okay, we're here to be reasonable, and we're doing the best we can with the information we have for the best good to the community we can think of. And it may not be ideal, but boy, that's what we got. So we're not sitting here to make you guys wrong. We're not sitting here to make you guys feel bad, and we're not sitting here to bury you under anything. It's just that these are the tools we have.
It's the arrogance that's really disgusting. Terrible.
I'd like to say something.
I have never seen such arrogance in my life.
I may be the minority here. I really hear the impact to the community and how much property owners are losing something they really love. And I can't agree with throwing out the baby with the bathwater because it's already been damaged to just let it continue. So I may very well be the minority here, but I would like to make a motion, I will not be timid, that we oppose the recommendation.
you want to make a motion to deny the LS 7A request?
I'd like to speak on it.
Okay, well, so there's not a second on the table yet.
I'd like to speak on the motion, because it's still,
Is that chair?
allowable to speak on the motion.
No, not yet. Do I have a second to her motion?
I'll second.
You have a second.
I'll second.
Now we can have a second.
Okay, now we can have a discussion on your motion.
The only reason I oppose this is not because I don't want Wade to have what he wants. I feel that he should be able to do what he wants on his land, and that the county out there giving him a hard time for having a truck is BS. I completely believe in that. However, when I look at the effect that this will have on your entire community, on the rest of the people in your community, okay, on a landowner who owns 2/5 of the properties in question who's opposing it. I say do what thou wilt, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. We see traffic, we see noise pollution, we see no mitigation for unsightly yards. I think this whole process is backwards. And I think that before someone would propose to turn an area industrial, that somehow there should be something presented to the county to mitigate the extreme hardships that it would put on the rest of their neighbors. I'm not against you guys doing that. I would be for this, but the way that it's being done is like, well, let's just turn it industrial and we'll figure out the rest later. When you purchased it, it was agricultural. Nothing changed.
The industrial land across the street was agricultural too. And it
But
all
your
changed.
land, you purchased agricultural property. It's still agricultural
No, it's
property.
residential.
Yes, residential, it's SR4.
There's a whole different section in the book. And they,
Wait. This is how I see it.
okay.
He has to be allowed to make his comments.
I'm just afraid that without proper planning, if this was, no, this isn't planning, this is saying let's go ahead and change it and then we'll figure out the rest later.
14 years.
Okay, but if you've been working on it for 14 years, then how come there's nothing addressed with the noise pollution from what there's supposed to be mitigations to some of this stuff and it's never been done or enforced. I want to know why that is.
I'll comment to that.
This is
So,
still on the motion.
I think what you're saying is, if they became industrial zoned, then where is the mitigation for that?
Yeah.
The mitigation would come if they started using it as an industrial use. You may laugh, but that is actually correct. And so if they started an industrial use on the property, they would have to go through the permitting process. If they had to have a minor use, a major use, whatever type of permit, they would have to go through the process.
You know what I'd like our community to be more like? Rancho Santa Fe, and less like National City Waterfront.
Mill, I don't know.
That's just my opinion.
Comments to your motion. As for where they put heavy industrial, they always put it at the far end of a community. Riverford Road and 67, everyone knows where that's at. There's a vacant lot next to Rick's Machine. They've got blacktop, it's filled in. That's the furthest most point of Santee city limits. That parcel is zoned for adult bookstore. That's what it is. That is zoned for an adult bookstore. Don't take my word for it, go to the city of Santee and see that. That's what it is. They put the gross industrial at the furthest end of our community, and that's where it's at. And that's where it really belongs. And there's very, very little, if any, M54 land available for rent right now. It's all used up, it's all blocked up. And so, I'm sorry, I can't support your motion. I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor of the motion to deny this proposed by raising your hand. I have 2. Opposed? Abstained? Motion fails. Nobody is- Motion fails. Do I have a new motion?
Yeah, may we elect a new board?
You can do
You
whatever
can,
you want,
you
absolutely.
can be quiet. We're not paid for this. We are the board that is duly elected, and we are planning and land use. And there's several times a year that a new project comes along, and people are requesting to have the same zoning as their neighbors, like R4, where you 4 dwelling units per acre. There was a gentleman here that brought his project forward to us. The 2020 plan had changed his zoning, okay? And it was told to him that he could not have the same use as his neighbors. And it was brought to us, and the pictures of it, the land sloping was not sloping, it was relatively flat. Planning board members went and visited the land. You could build a bowling alley in all 3 directions. We voted to approve the use that was existing next to it, giving the same. There was a couple of people from the audience that didn't like that, but that's the way it was. We look at bulk scale and surrounding uses. That's what we look at. That's what's out there. Do I have a motion from the board? Mr. Baker.
I'll make a motion to decline reconsideration of this request.
So you're making a motion to have our old motion stand?
The old motion stand.
You just want to reconfirm the original motion?
Okay.
We neither didn't decline or deny the request to reconsider.
Yeah.
Or we can take no action. Both actions result in the same.
Okay.
And I'm making a motion to decline the reconsideration.
We can't
To decline, he's making a motion to decline the reconsideration, which means to reconsider the vote that we had at our meeting. Do I have a second to that?
I'll second that.
I have a second. Okay, comments to the motion. Do you understand what the motion is? Okay.
Is there, you have to go ask them? Yeah.
To the audience, ma'am, you're very... You want to say something back there? Ma'am, in the blue.
Me?
Yes, to this
I
motion.
think it's a bunch of crap. You're not listening to the people.
All right, thank
To
you.
the 2 people that are. Well, you asked me to say something, I'm saying it.
That's fine.
The
Okay.
property owner right in the middle of this is saying no, and you're not even
understand that.
listening to the will
But
of the
unless he
people.
changes his use...
I don't need that, I
nothing
think I got a
stays the
big
same.
enough mouth.
Unless he changes his use, it stays the same.
Well,
It just gets redesignated.
one of the things that you need to recognize, and I'm just gonna say this because you want it to just stay the same as what it is, it's actually not staying what it was. That's what the general plan amendment is doing, it is changing it. So it is changing for these folks and for that fellow period from what it used to be.
Same as it always has been.
No,
According
no, no.
to Gordon, he said, it is still ed.
No.
Nothing's changed.
If there was nothing changing, then why do you think that they would be jumping up and down?
Because they want it. We're jumping up and down.
Yeah.
You guys are jumping up and down.
No.
You're not
Okay,
listening.
anyway, so everyone's here because of the change. GP 2020 created change. Well, the general plan amendment now is what it's called.
Right.
We didn't get it.
All right.
We didn't
All
get the change.
Gordon?
Yeah, let's clarify a couple of things. What has changed is the bureaucrats, one of the things I hated is they changed the names for things. And what was the 18 category has become the SR4. So I mean, that in a sense is a name change only. The zone under it, the ag zone, has not changed. Now there's some thought it may change in the future, but I gotta tell you, better to be under an SR4 if you want to stay ag than an I2. What actually was your motion? You don't mind.
The motion is to decline the reconsideration of the prior vote.
So that would be effectively a motion to support the previous vote, is that correct? Is that the essence of it?
Exactly.
Okay. Then the last thing I would say, and I know I've irritated Robin a bit, and I apologize for it, but really much of the arguments behind this has been that the area is pretty crummy, and it didn't have to be. It could be better on dust, it could be better on getting after the smell problems, it could be better getting after the mitigations. Thank you.
Just so you folks know, a lot of that stuff is driven by complaint, so if you are having issues, you should absolutely complain to your county. Or the highway patrol, whoever.
Right, or, you know, if somebody's violating the posted speed limit, call the highway patrol. If they're violating the existing posting of the no large trucks over 10 ton, call the sheriff. Okay, we're done. Okay, the motion as presented, all in favor?
Wait, did we give a second on that motion?
Yes.
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Opposed? 1, 2. Abstained? 1 abstained. Motion passes 8-1.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Sorry for this, folks. Taking so late. It's 10 minutes to 9. We're out of here. Thank you.
Thanks, Carla.